He has a recording of Diddy coaching this comedian Amy Schumer on how to rap, which I think is ridiculous because Diddy can't even rap. So I don't know how he's going to teach somebody else how to rap. Like, the man has no talent. It's obvious. It's obvious the man has no talent. I've never enjoyed a single thing that he's rapped. So I don't think he's a good rapper. So I don't know why he's trying to teach somebody else how to rap. But well, it's Thursday, the day I'm recording this, but we'll see when it actually comes out. There were some new allegations filed in the Lil Rod versus P. Diddy lawsuit. And as promised, they cutting the grass outside, girl. So if you hear that, sorry, there's really not much I can do about it. So as promised, I do want to keep you updated with what's going on in the lawsuit. So here's the docket report. And as you can see, since April 1st, there have been quite a few things filed, but more recently, these filings right here, these ones from the 9th. So as you can see, there was a reply memorandum in support of the motion to leave to file a second amended complaint. That is just Tyrone Blackburn, who is Lil Rod Jones's lawyer. He wanted to amend the complaint. There were a few reasons he wanted to amend it. He had new information. Also, he's being threatened with sanctions. So he wanted to amend it. But Motown and UMG, who are defendants in this case, they were saying, no, he doesn't get to amend it. We are not going to approve it. So basically, Tyrone, who is Lil Rod's lawyer, the ones suing Diddy and Motown and UMG and all these people, they basically had to get special permission from the judge. So that's kind of what you're seeing here. And as you can see at item 36, the judge did grant that. So he is going to be able to amend it again. Now, I don't know if that amendment is going to look the same as the second amendment that he already did try to make. I'm not sure if it's just a technicality or if he's actually going to say some new things that we haven't seen as the public yet. That remains to be seen. But he has until April 30th to file that amendment. And then I think they have 2 weeks to reply and then, something like that. And then UMG has until April 30th to file their motion to dismiss. Now, they had already filed a motion to dismiss in reference to Sir Lucian Grange, Motown, and UMG. But the judge denied that motion to dismiss because basically there's going to be a new complaint coming. So there's no point in dismissing a complaint that's not even going to be the actual complaint. So they will have till April 30th to file their motion to dismiss. Then after that, there will be a 3-week period, which will allow Rodney and Tyrone to respond or reply to the motion to dismiss. I'm sure they will oppose it. Then after that, I think there'll probably be a few more weeks where UMG and Motown will be able then to come back and reply to the opposition. So we do have a couple months worth of waiting time so that we can see what's going to happen with the motion to dismiss. Now, in the meantime, there have been other things happening, and we have talked about them on the channel. But the other things happening are, importantly, there's another case that has been filed over there in California by the same lawyer against pretty much the same defendants, except they also added Diddy's other son, Christian. We talked about that. It has to do with some debauchery that happened on a yacht. And another thing that is going on at the same time as all of this is Tyrone Blackburn, the lawyer in the case, is being perhaps disciplined. He's been referred to the grievance committee and he's basically protecting his good name. He has filed a letter with this judge. He's basically saying that it's a hit piece, it's a hit attempt, and all of the ways that people are characterizing him are pretty much exactly what they're accusing him of doing. That's what they're doing to him. He says that all of his filings in this district in New York have comported with the rules. And he said a grievance committee referral is not the same thing as actually being sanctioned. He's saying he's going to appeal that order and he's going to fight for his good name. Now, if you've been watching my coverage on this, you do know that I don't really know exactly where I stand on the Tyrone Blackburn situation. I'm a little bit in the middle because I'm not trying to rush to the defense of some lawyer who may be lying and acting a damn fool in court because I've been victim to that myself. But at the same time, I'm not going to ignore the very real possibility that this is a gang up hit piece because I have also been victim of that as well. So for me personally, I just want to stay up to date with the filings and see what's going on so that I can keep gathering more information. I certainly haven't made my mind up, and everybody is innocent until proven guilty. So, really importantly, there's been another declaration filed in this case by Lil Rod himself. So, it comes to us on this first reply memorandum of law. And, there are some technicalities being argued over. A lot of these lawsuits do get dismissed on technicalities before you ever actually get around to talking about any of the substance or the facts. But there's some technicalities going on, which I think is a little bit less interesting than the actual factual allegations. But essentially, we have Tyrone and Lil Rod Jones having to play a little bit of defense. Like, even though they filed this case, now they have been put on the defensive where they have to defend themselves and they have to defend the choices that they've made throughout this case in order to protect Tyrone from disciplinary hearings and in order to protect Lil Rod's lawsuit to keep it going. This also implicates all of the other lawsuits that Tyrone Blackburn does have going on in all the districts and all the courts across the country. So it all kind of links in together. But I wanted to discuss specifically a declaration that was filed by Lil Rod. This declaration was filed as Exhibit B on the memorandum of law in support of getting motion to leave and amend, which was granted. So basically, they were asking the judge permission. Please, can we file an amendment? And the judge said yes. But in the process of asking the judge for permission, this had to be filed in order to prove to the judge that they had some type of like actual legitimate lawsuit. So it is a declaration of Rodney Jones. But Rodney Jones does sign this declaration under penalty of perjury. And at any time, you can pause this if you want to read the verbatim word for word, but I do just want to kind of outline it. Sometimes I want to read word for word, and then sometimes it's just like, we got to get the video out because too much is happening. And that's one of those days today. Some of the stuff we already know, like August 2022, he got a call from Diddy and his assistant, Frankie Santella, requesting that he work on the Love album. He was invited to Diddy's house as early as 2021 to produce another project. He produced 9 songs on the Love album. In October 2022, he worked at Combs Enterprise and Combs global offices in West Hollywood, and he claims that he was training other engineers. He says he lived with Diddy for months at a time, spending holidays, birthdays with him, and missing his own major family events. Diddy was apparently very demanding and would often deny requests to go home. I lived at his residence in California, New York, and Miami, Florida, spent several weeks on a yacht that he rented in St. Bart's, St. Martin, and the Virgin Islands. Now, this yacht situation is important because that other person, Grace, she's also suing Diddy, and she is suing Diddy's son, Christian. The reason she's suing them is for similar allegations, assault, and things like that. So both of them, Lil Rod Jones and Grace, are kind of like supporting each other's allegations in their respective court filings. Like Grace was like, yeah, I saw Cuba Gooding Jr. assaulting Lil Rod. And then you're going to see Lil Rod's going to say, I saw Christian Combs assaulting a stewardess on a yacht or whatever. So they're kind of backing each other up, but these are completely separate lawsuits. One of them is in California. One of them is in the Southern District of New York in federal court. So it's not the same lawsuit, but the same lawyer is filing them, and they do have some defendants in common. Lil Rod's declaration, filed 2 days ago, goes on to say, while I was living with him, with Diddy, I experienced and endured many things that went far beyond my role of producer. I have hundreds of hours of audio and video recordings and photos of incidents that I detail in my first and proposed second amended complaint. Diddy required that I record him constantly. He did not like to repeat himself, and I quickly learned that from observing him lose his temper with his staff and family if they failed to remember something that he had said a day or two prior. On several occasions, Mr. Combs took my cell phone and began to record himself. He said, while recording the Love album, I worked out of several studios. The first studio where I produced music was the Chalice Recording Studio in California, and that's where that alleged shooting happened. Lil Rod says we were only supposed to work there for a couple weeks, but that quickly turned into a few months. In addition to Chalice Recording Studios, I worked out of Diddy's homes. So for a couple weeks at the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, he says, I worked on the Love album from a recording studio that Diddy set up on the yacht that he rented in St. Bart's, St. Martin, and the Virgin Islands. So then he includes a little receipt here for his flights. He said, I witnessed the acquisition, use, and distribution of a bunch of substances, and I watched Diddy display unregistered Second Amendment devices. He says, I witnessed Mr. Combs provide laced alcoholic beverages to minors. That means to children. and S workers at his homes in California, New York, Virgin Islands, and Florida. Eyewitness Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Karam, instructed the staff to retrieve drugs so that she could provide them to Mr. Combs for his consumption. He says, I witnessed Christian Combs drug and assault a stewardess while we were on the yacht Mr. Combs rented in St. Martin, and the Virgin Islands. He said the assault began in the makeshift studio on the yacht while I was recording Christian Combs's auto-tunes rapping. Shade. And then he says, on many mornings while he was on the yacht with Diddy, he worked alongside Diddy in the gym. He says he has videos of Diddy and him working out on the treadmill with TD Jakes playing on the monitor. We watch TD Jakes sermons every morning during our workouts. He says at first he thought it was admirable because like maybe Diddy is trying to be some type of Christian or something. But then he realized, Lil Rod says, that he wasn't studying the message. He was actually studying TD Jakes' body language to ingratiate himself with him further and trade on TD Jakes' reputation to get him out of the trouble he was in with the Cassie lawsuit. On September 11th, 2022, Diddy had a writers and producers camp to kind of workshop for the Love album. Over 100 producers, songwriters, and other creatives attended the camp, and many of the attendees brought plus ones with them. So Diddy, Justin Combs, and Justin's friend G were all there. And Lil Rod says G is about 30 years old, African-American male, much taller than Lil Rod. While at the camp, they were required to work in various studios, and Lil Rod says he had to work at a Studio A lounge area. And on September 12th, 2022, from 3 to 4 in the morning during the camp, Diddy, his son Justin, and this friend G were in a heated conversation. The conversation was moved out of the studio and into a restroom, and we've heard these allegations before. Lil Rod was like right outside the bathroom, approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom, and he heard GUN shots. He says he recalls hearing multiple shots. Immediately, he went into a state of shock and he was afraid that he would actually be hit as well. A crowd gathered around the restroom, and when the door finally opened, Diddy and his son Justin exited. They left out of the bathroom. G was lying on the floor in a fetal position, holding his torso and bleeding. We heard all that, applying pressure to the wound. An ambulance showed up. But according to reports, according to Lil Rod, nobody's really ever seen or heard from this G person ever again. So where is he? What happened to him? Why hasn't anyone heard what happened to him? Who knows? Also, Lil Rod is alleging that Diddy told him to lie, and he told other people to lie as well. Don't tell anybody what really happened. Tell him he was outside, all that. So then Lil Rod, he does like to put pictures in his lawsuit. So here's a picture of him in the studio. He goes on in the declaration to say that Diddy had converted the parking lot of this recording studio that they recorded at for a few months into basically a makeshift club. It was basically a full-on club in the parking lot of this recording studio. They had a bar, a massage spa, and a hookah. Every single evening, according to Lil Rod's declaration, and this is new information, Diddy would host a party called Club Love. There would be all the attendees of the writers' camp, the artists, and the record label executives would be there as well. That's what he says. In addition to Club Love, Diddy required everyone working on the Love album to take laced shots of this De Leon tequila. Lil Rod says there was no way to tell him no. Diddy felt anyone who refused to drink with him was, quote, suspicious and untrustworthy. At the time, Lil Rod says, I didn't realize that he was using these laced shots of alcohol to obtain and maintain control over the people who were consuming it. He says Diddy wasn't the only person who pressured everyone to take shots either. His chief of staff, Christina Karam, and DeForest Taylor, Frankie Santella, and the A&R for Love Records, Brendan Paul, and Moy Bond all were encouraging people and pressuring people to take shots. Then Lil Rod goes on, paragraph 42. Throughout the duration of my time living with Mr. Combs, I personally witnessed him order his staff to bring him drugs and S workers. This was a common occurrence. On several occasions while in Miami, Lil Rod says he was required to order S workers from strip clubs in Miami. He says he would be required to send the workers Ubers to and from Diddy at his property in Miami. On several occasions, Lil Rod says he witnessed this alleged drug mule pack substances, candies, and all this other stuff into his carry-on items whenever they had to travel internationally and to other states. Throughout his time with Diddy, he was transported from California to New York, Florida, St. Bart's, and the Virgin Islands. He says, during this time, I was forced to solicit S workers and perform S acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. He says, unbeknownst to me, Diddy had hidden cameras and audio devices in all the rooms in his homes. And then he says, I only discovered this several months into living with him when I had to pick up my Uber Eats delivery from the security office. So LaRod says usually the security would bring him his Uber Eats if he would order it. But on this particular occasion, he went pick it up from the security office. And when they opened the door of the security office, he saw these huge screens. And each screen had like 20 to 30 different, quote, little screens in them. Each one was a view of a room in and surrounding Mr. Combs's home. And I have reason to believe that this is how Cher has her house set up as well, but more on that at a later. He says y'all want receipts? Y'all want receipts? Y'all want to act like I'm just filing stuff just for fun out of a figment of my imagination? Okay, here's some dates. On the following occasions, I was forced to solicit different S workers and bring them to Star Island. And then he names the dates: November 29th, 30th, 2022, December 3rd and 6th, 2022, January 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, February 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 8th, 9th, April 1st, 4th, May 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So he's got dates. Then he gives a little more details. He says, for example, on July 2nd, 2023, Diddy had a listening party in his California home. So July 2nd, 2023, last year, not even a year ago. There was a lot of people present at the party, including Chris Brown. So he's naming the names again. Justin Combs, this is the son that was allegedly involved in the Chalice recording shooting incident. He said there were also S workers there, some underage girls, which means children. There was kids there. Justin would typically bring the younger women to these parties. Now, I don't know if he means kids, because if he means children, that's what they should say. They shouldn't say younger women if they're like 15-year-olds. You know what I mean? They at least could say teenagers or minors or whatever. I mean, younger women, that's not women. That's children, like legally even. You know what I mean? I just have questions. He says, I have 2 videos of 2 different S workers that Justin Combs brought with him to the recording studios, and I can provide those videos to this court. That event began around 7 p.m. Diddy requested female S workers and required Lil Rod to solicit them. An hour later, several of the S workers appeared, and in addition to them, there were at least 5 women in the crowd who appeared to be under the age of 16. So I don't know why you're calling them women. They not. That's kids. Under the age of 16 means they were 15 or younger. So I don't like that they're calling them women, and that's how these lines get blurred. It's not a, quote, child prostitute. It's a child victim. It's not a S worker. It's not a young woman under the age of 6. It's a kid. I observed children there. I observed minors there even. Diddy forced, according to this declaration, all of the attendees to drink this laced alcohol. He says, I believe Diddy laced the liquor with EX. I have personally witnessed his staff members, Brandon Paul and Moiban, lace alcohol with EX. The presence of what I perceive to be underage women, so children, made me very uncomfortable. I attempted to leave. Diddy forced me to stay. I had my keys in my book bag. I've never lost my keys. And he went so far as to take my car keys to prevent me from leaving. He's made that allegation previously. After being forced to drink these shots, I felt lightheaded and I passed out. I remember waking up at 4 a.m. the following morning with a worker sleeping next to me. Then he says, in February 2023, I believe Diddy DRUG me. I remember waking up naked, dizzy, confused. I was in the bed with 2 S workers and Mr. Combs. I also recall aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. I have photos of the S workers sleeping on the bed the morning after. I can provide it to the court if necessary. I do find it interesting because he has included these pictures in his previous filings and he didn't include them here. And I do wonder why. I don't know why. Then he says, on Thanksgiving night, 2022, at Diddy's house in Florida, Diddy asked him and DeForest Taylor to enter the bathroom in the studio. He asked us for a $100 bill because he wanted us to do a certain substance with him. He said, I was deathly afraid. Luckily, I did not have a $100 bill. Diddy waited a little later to do the substance with Young Miami. On many different occasions, Lil Rod says he was required to solicit S workers from the booby trap. He did as he was asked, and Diddy forced him to engage in unsolicited S acts with these S workers. Diddy personally trained me how to solicit these workers from the booby trap, and I have a recording of that. He trained me. He gave me exclusive bad boy hat to wear so that the S workers would know that I was legit. He had no desire to go there, but Diddy used his power and influence to intimidate and force him into soliciting the S workers from the booby trap. He says, unbeknownst to me, these workers were accustomed to servicing Mr. Combs and would know that he was in town by the sight of the baseball hat. He also promised Lil Rod, allegedly, many things to entice him to continue engaging in the trafficking operation. On many occasions, they discussed winning Grammys for the Love album. And he says he promised I would win the Grammy for Producer of the Year. He offered me $250,000 to purchase all the instruments I wanted. He promised me ownership of his $20 million property. He promised me to give me access to record label executives like Sir Lucian Grange and Ethiopia Habtemariam. So this is important too, because in this lawsuit now we have UMG saying they didn't have anything to do with this and they shouldn't be liable for it. But UMG also provided a contract with Diddy, which does seem to indicate that Diddy was given basically free money to do whatever he wanted with in order to make this album. And I do wonder if some of that free money would have been some of this $250,000 right here that keeps getting referenced. On multiple occasions, when Diddy hosted parties at his homes in LA and Miami, many music label executives from Universal and Motown were present. Some of the other organizations who did send representatives there were Apple Music and Spotify, and they were at Diddy's house in April 2023 for a listening party. He said, as I already previously mentioned, but just to reiterate it, at Thanksgiving, I was assaulted by Young Miami's cousin. She tried to do a certain act on me, and I had to, physically remove myself, push her off. She was very persistent. And then he repleads this other allegation that Diddy had used his admiration for producer Stevie J to groom him into accepting gay sex. I am a heterosexual male. And I made that point very clear to Diddy. But Diddy would always do stuff in covert and overt ways to see if I would be open to having S with men. Aside from physically assaulting me by groping my groin and my buttocks, Diddy showed me a video of music producer Stephen Aaron Jordan penetrating a Caucasian man. Stevie J was part of the Bad Boy Records production team, the Hitmen, and he had worked for Diddy for nearly 30 years. He produced many hit songs. He won a Grammy Award for his work on one of Diddy's albums, and it was the same Grammy that Diddy promised. Oh God, this is crazy. He said it's the same Grammy. It's the same Grammy that Diddy promised him. Lil Rod is saying this is the same Grammy that he was promised. Like Diddy came around and said, oh, I promise you'll win the Grammy for Producer of the Year for the Love album. That Grammy went to Stevie J, which is a person been working for Diddy for 30 years, apparently. He says, as a young producer, I admired Stevie J's success, and Diddy knew this, as we had many discussions about it. He used access to Stevie J and his knowledge of my admiration of Stevie J to groom and entice me to engage in certain types of acts. Mr. Combs went so far as to share a video with Lil Rod. And apparently Diddy claimed this was Stevie J doing a certain act with no protection with a Caucasian male in the video. Lil Rod says, I honestly believed that Diddy was showing me this and attributing it to Stevie J to see my reaction and to ease my anxiety concerning S with men. The person in the video did look and sound like Stevie J, and I honestly believed it was him. This is a little bit different language from the previous language that he did use in the lawsuit, because previously Lil Rod had included a picture, a still shot from this alleged, illicit encounter or whatever. And there's been a bunch of backlash from that, because an actual adult entertainer has come out and said that that was him. That was not Stevie J. And so it kind of makes him look a little bit less credible in this Lil Rod lawsuit as far as, these allegations. But this is Lil Rod's kind of like attempt to be like, okay, look, maybe it is him, maybe it isn't. That doesn't change the point that the purpose for Diddy showing me this video was to make me think it was Stevie J and to make me think that someone that I really admired was doing this, and to kind of make me more comfortable with viewing corn typography in front of Diddy, and to just groom me into becoming more comfortable with it. So he's saying, even if it wasn't Stevie J, for first, I actually really believed it was because Diddy told me it was. For two, even if it wasn't him, it is still a pattern or a practice of a grooming behavior, because he's trying to gauge my interest. He's trying to see what he can get away with, see my reaction, ease my anxiety concerning S with men. Diddy apparently told him, quote, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it. He shared that there are many other known artists who engage in this type of relations with men. During his time living with Diddy, he said he personally witnessed men and others visit the houses and disappear into Diddy's bedroom for hours. Several of the men own record labels and have notable catchphrases like, and another one. Is this DJ Khaled? Um, What's the Maybach music thing? Who's that? I don't know who that is. Then he says, I can provide those names at the court's request. Then he gets back into the whole Cuba Gooding Jr. thing again. He says he believes that Diddy was grooming him to pass him off to his friends, including, for example, Cuba Gooding Jr. He said, my fear became a reality when he introduced Cuba and Lil Rod that night on the yacht. Allegation right here about the yacht and the Cuba Gooding Jr. in the recording studio and all that was substantiated or further verified or validated or whatever by that other lawsuit that was filed by the stewardess who's suing Diddy and his son as well. Diddy suggested that Cuba and Lil Rod get to know each other better, and then they left them alone in a makeshift studio on the yacht. That is whenever Lil Rod alleges he was touched, groped, fondled in inappropriate areas. He was extremely uncomfortable. He tried to lean away, but he had to forcibly push him away. On several occasions, he also saw drugs being distributed. And Diddy informed me that the executives at the parties in his homes were Lucian Grange, Ethiopia Habtemariam, and other talent acquisition representatives from UMG and Motown. Diddy often left the parties when these executives appeared and took them to his bedroom. They would be gone for several hours. Although I saw who he was referencing, I never personally met with or spoke to Lucian Grange, Ethiopia, or any other executive who was present. He said he was prohibited from doing so because he would have had to earn the sort of privilege of meeting them and speaking to them directly. But he does reiterate, Diddy directly, personally informed me that these executives were present and always told me that they came there to scout talent. In addition to the previous paragraphs, Diddy often switched his approach to force me to obey and comply with his demands. On multiple occasions, he would threaten me with physical harm. We get this allegation that Diddy apparently allegedly threatened to eat Lil Rod's face. He was willing to unalive his own mother to get what he wanted, so he wouldn't think twice about harming me. He would make me work out of his bedroom when he had gang members and certain substance dealers visiting him. He witnessed him hand out Second Amendment devices, and these guys were always dressed in all black. I've seen individuals bringing bags of cash to Diddy's home, and he said Diddy informed me that this money came from UMG. I witnessed known gang members at his home in LA and Miami be paid from the stacks of cash hidden in his bedroom. He saw Diddy take the cash out and place it on the bedroom table, the bed, the couch. So Lil Rod is exposing that there is a hidden room in the closet of Diddy's bedroom, and the only people he ever saw going in that room was Diddy and Christina Karam. So I don't know if the police found the hidden bedroom or not when they did their little raid or whatever, but I do think it's kind of like he's spilling the tea. And then Lil Rod says, I was with him for 13 months. And during that time that I lived and traveled with him, I saw Christina Karam, the chief of staff, openly order assistants to keep Mr. Combs high off of laced gummies and pills. He has a recording of Diddy coaching this comedian, Amy Schumer, on how to rap, which I think is ridiculous because Diddy can't even rap. So I don't know how he's going to teach somebody else how to rap. Like, the man has no talent. It's obvious. It's obvious the man has no talent. I've never enjoyed a single thing that he's rapped. So I don't think he's a good rapper. So I don't know why he's trying to teach somebody else how to rap. But Lil Rod is saying, I have a video of Diddy trying to teach her how to rap. And in the video, Christina Karam is in the background instructing the staff to get Mr. Combs, to get Diddy some laced gummies. So it's like, is she a handler? What's going on with these gummies? Apparently, Christina also required all the employees to carry those bags with the substances in it. We've already discussed those. It was like a black Prada bag. Brendan Paul would transport these, and he gives dates. He says, throughout my time of being with him, Diddy reiterated over and over again that he does not spend money on anything and he does not pay for anything. He has a long-standing relationship with UMG, Lucian Grange, and Ethiopia Habtemariam. He shared that when he was creating Love Records, he informed the Motown CEO and other label executives like L.A. Reid. So this kind of circles back to the whole Usher situation. He said Diddy had intended to partner with L.A. Reid and his label Hitco. And also, like, Clive Davis comes in there, Babyface comes in there, Usher, Justin Bieber, like that whole world gets kind of sucked in with the L.A. Reid of it all. But whenever they were doing the negotiations or whatever, L.A. Reid said that he was in the process of kind of selling the label. So Diddy told him that Ethiopia Motown Records was the second option for the Love album. Diddy informed Lil Rod that he met with Lucian Charles Grange, Sir Lucian Grange, CEO of UMG, and he met with the CEO of Motown. So Motown is a division of UMG. So technically UMG is kind of like the boss of whoever's at Motown, right? So he kind of was doing a deal with Motown, but because of that, it circles in and included UMG. And as part of the partnership, they did agree to distribute the first and second Love albums. So Diddy informed Lil Rod that UMG paid for Club Love, Chalice Recording Studios, and the Yacht, which he chose. This is scathing. This could be one of the most important revelations, I think, for their lawsuit, if true, because it says Diddy told Lil Rod that UMG, the parent company, the one that was funding his album, paid for Chalice Recording Studios, where that shot happened. They paid for Club Love, which was the makeshift bar and massage and all that was set up at the Chalice Recording Studios parking lot, and the Yacht. And we saw in the live yesterday that Yacht is like $1 million a week or something to rent. So it seems like it was at least a few $1,000,000 to rent that yacht. They were on it for at least a week, maybe two, maybe more. So several $1,000,000 to rent that yacht. And here we have Lil Rod saying Diddy told him that UMG paid for all that. That's going to make a really difficult case for UMG, because UMG is right now in the same court trying to argue they have nothing to do with this. They had no idea what was going on. They didn't know any of this. They shouldn't be held responsible. It's ridiculous and egregious that they're being brought up. Well, if this stuff is true, that they were funding all of this stuff, then maybe it does bring them in. He reiterates that he was never paid for his work. And then he kind of shoots back at UMG. He's like, my lawyer informed me that UMG, which is a huge record label, said that they don't pay for S workers and they didn't sponsor any of the Club Love parties or the writers' camps. And then Lil Rod says, okay, that's cute, but that's contradicted by what I saw with my very own two eyeballs. There were employees of UMG and Motown present at the writers' camp. They were present at listening parties, and they were at the after parties. I was told by Diddy they were all there. I saw them there. Diddy told me they were scouting for talent. As it pertains to the S workers, they also paid for them. I have several videos of the Chalice recording studio sessions, as well as in-home recording sessions. And there are S workers and producers in the studio. The S workers in the videos were the only ones getting paid. The following are screenshots of these recording sessions, which took place in the Chalice recording studios and Mr. Combs' home. So I guess these are the alleged S workers. And like, honestly, y'all, it does appear that that is what is going on here. I guess it could be someone's girlfriend. I don't know. I wasn't there, but there's obviously a lot of alcohol going on the table. They're in like a red room or whatever. This video was taken on January 29th, 2023 inside Diddy's house. This video was September 30th inside Chalice Recording Studio. And then it says Justin Combs solicited the S worker in this video. So I guess this is who he's talking about right here. It's a different person. Okay, it's a different outfit at least. This video was taken on September 15th, 2022. Inside Chalice Recording Studio, Justin Combs solicited the S worker in this video. A little zoom in moment here. Diddy apparently bragged about having fun and not getting caught. In a recording I can provide to the court, Lil Rod says, on multiple other occasions, Diddy shared wild stories of his 30-plus years in the music industry. He shared how he would get things by force. This included record deals, signatures on contracts, S acts from men and women, as well as the women of his enemies. He bragged about having Daphne Joy, the child mother. I don't know what he's trying to say right here. He says the child mother of a competing rapper on payroll as one of his S workers. This is 50 Cent's child's mother. 50 Cent has a kid named Sire, and this is the mother of that child, Daphne Joy. Now, 50 Cent and this woman have had huge falling out since the initial filing of these lawsuits, but it looks like Lil Rod is doubling down. Yes, that's exactly who I mean. I'm talking about Daphne Joy, 50 Cent's child's mother. Yes. He said, I have a video of Diddy on a massage table receiving a massage from a professional masseuse, while Daphne Joy, 50 Cent's child's mother, is giving Diddy a foot massage. He's saying Diddy bragged about having Daphne Joy on payroll as a S worker. He bragged about shooting a woman in the face in a club in 1999 in that New York City where the J-Lo was holding the gun and all that. He bragged about departed attorney Johnny Cochran's savvy legal skills. his ability to pay off witnesses through private investigators and other third parties. He bragged about having J-Lo carrying his gun into the club the night of the shooting, and the fact that he had so much power and influence over her at the time. He bragged about getting Shine to take the heat for the shooting, and the fact that he paid Shine through a record deal with his good friend, L.A. Reid. And again, this man is like a diplomat. He's like a politician in Belize. At the time the shooting happened, his dad was the prime minister of Belize or something insane. Like, these are high-level political connections, no matter which way you splice it. Diddy bragged about the power he has, the fact that he beat up record executive Steve Stouts. He laughed uncontrollably as he talked about busting him in the head with a bottle of champagne in a chair. He bragged about beating up Gerard Rechnitzer, I don't know who that is, outside of a nightclub. He informed me that only poor people pay taxes. He shared it's a common practice in the music industry to wire money from anonymous accounts overseas. Stonebridge, 600 million? I don't know. Panama, I don't know. Y'all, one day I'm going to be vindicated. One day I'm going to be vindicated from this whole Lou Taylor thing. And I hope it's sooner than later, because it's been quite a while since I brought up that that's actually the real problem with the conservatorship. It all stems back to Lou. And there will be no justice for Britney or anybody who's connected into this web until Lou Taylor takes her rightful place in federal prison. In my opinion, innocent until proven guilty. Then Diddy apparently said if there's ever a need to take care of a problem, it would never be traced back to him. These accounts were in Germany. Diddy also shared that he invests in many shell companies and provides funding for businesses like Wingstop. And then Lil Rod says, I could share other things, but I don't really feel comfortable putting them in this filing. So I will be willing to discuss them with the court under seal to preserve my Fifth Amendment rights. Now, this kind of brings to my mind, what's the Fifth Amendment? I plead the Fifth. The Fifth Amendment has to do with Miranda rights. Anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. You have the right to remain silent. And so he's basically saying, I don't want anything that I'm going to say to end up getting flipped back on me. But all this to say, it kind of does bring it back around for me to a similar question that I had when I was reading the Kanye West lawsuit the other night. At what point are these people victims? And at what point are they perpetrators, co-conspirators? Because this man is saying that he watched this up close and personal for 13 months. He solicited S workers. He engaged in the acts with the S workers. I'm not talking about, whenever he says he got drugged. That obviously makes sense. He was out of his right mind. But is it possible that this lawsuit is being filed specifically because he knows that there's going to be a criminal investigation into somebody and he didn't want it to be him that gets... I don't know. It just brings up questions like, why did he stay around for so long? And I can come up with some reasons, like he was scared for his life. He watched somebody get shot and nobody ever heard from him again. I mean, that's certainly believable, plausible. It's just things I wonder. But yeah, so he does bring that up. And then, yeah, there you go. Okay, so he signed it. So that's pretty much all I really wanted to talk about today. I did want to keep y'all updated of everything going on in the case, and these are some new allegations. We do get some more names mentioned. We got Chris Brown, we got Amy Schumer being on the boat. And I do think it is kind of interesting just to get these names sort of dripped out, because I don't think I ever would have put Amy Schumer on the boat. The more I dig, the more I realize all these people really are connected to one another. It's not a pyramid. Like, I was thinking it was like a pyramid scheme where there's like one person on the top and then it would like go down, down, down. It is like a pyramid, but it's like a bunch of pyramids that go out from a center point. And the center point is a group. So it's like L.A. Reid is connected to Usher, is connected to Diddy, is connected to Justin Bieber, is connected to Clive Davis, is connected to Motown, is connected to Lou Pearlman, is connected to Johnny. But like, they're all connected, but they all have their own little spheres of influence and things like that. And so I won't be surprised to see anybody's name mentioned at this point in these lawsuit filings. And I'll keep y'all updated as to what else happens. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.
Something right now, because I know you're watching. I will be saying everything you tried to do to me.